super excited about today's show. I have James Beckwith. He is the president, CEO of 5 Star Bank, the Entrepreneurs Bank. And just a couple minutes ago, we're sitting inside Mark Tank here, inside the Marquee Media Studio. And before we even started the show, I called James with our mutual friend, Tom Candris, and to get your feedback on what do you think of the show idea. And you said, would like to be a part of this. And so I want to personally welcome you to the Mark Haney Show one more time, but also another thank you for supporting us financially, emotionally, in so many ways all these years. So thank you, James. Really appreciate it.
Well, Mark, thank you for having me on the show. And it was fun to reminisce about when that phone call happened, and I'm thinking it was 5 years ago.
It was just a little more than that, yep.
Yeah, and I remember it very succinctly, and it's great to see what you've been able to do with the program and really pushing entrepreneurship within the region and helping young companies grow. So thank you for what you do.
You bet. Well, talk about growth. I mean, I always say entrepreneurs are the heroes of the American economy, but we are nowhere if we don't have access to capital. And you look at what you have done. You, before my very eyes, have become the Entrepreneurs Bank. I know you're growing rapidly. I know you're expanding your markets. I mean, but you are the backbone of this financial opportunity for entrepreneurs in this community.
Well, I appreciate that. We're in our 21st year right now, so we've been at this for a while. We've been able to grow and be in the right place at the right time. And I'm thinking about what it was like back March, April, when a lot of people needed money to help their companies continue to stand up, and we happened to be at the right place at the right time and made over 1,100 PPP loans.
Wow.
And 40% of those, Mark, were with non-customers, at least non-customers at that time of 5 Star Bank, because there was a lot of, you may recall this, a lot of anxiety, anger, nobody returning calls, and we were an option, and we got things done, and we got things done quickly. We got money in the hands of these companies for them to be able to keep paying their employees. And we're just happy to be in the right place at the right time.
Well, I remember that moment, and we could take the trip down memory lane, but we're talking about this year when COVID hit and they announced that stimulus program. I think us as entrepreneurs were like, we better jump on this now, but how does it work? And really, the banking community, generally speaking, I think didn't know all the answers. And so Mike Rizzo, your man, Mike Rizzo sat on a number of, I'll call them webinars with us, Zoom calls, that kind of thing, with me and a bunch of my entrepreneurial friends. And he was amazing because he was so candid with us. He basically said, look, there aren't all the answers out there yet, but here's what we know, and we can help you get from point A to point B. And I think that reassurance from Mike, and I know the rest of your team is backing him and backing you, but incredibly helpful. People who were panicked about losing their opportunity for almost what is considered like grant money, but yet you've got to jump through all the hoops, otherwise you got to pay it back.
Exactly. And it was because of, every week SBA would change the game a little bit, move the needle around. And so we just had to be flexible and be really good communicators and be really up front and out in front with respect to our customers. And because you're right, a lot of anxiety at that particular time. Now, fast forward to today, here we are right in the middle of forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And those are processes that may be as difficult, if you will, as getting the PPP loan to begin with. And so we're working with our customers, working with their applications and making the submissions to the SBA. And so far we've gotten, I'm going to say, close to 60 loans forgiven.
Okay.
And so we're getting like 3 or 4 a day right now. And we've got probably, close to 260 submissions to the SBA. So we're working through.
How long does it take to get through all those? What do you think? Is that the rest of the year?
We're hopeful to be able to get through them the rest of the year. They've got some time.
Okay.
But everybody's been touched, saying here's what it looks like. There was hope to have some form of modification that was legislated as part of a bigger stimulus package. We'll see. I think everybody's wrapped up in the election right now. So, but there's talk of that stuff. So we stand ready. We know how to move on a dime, and we've got a great system, a great team to be able to deliver into our customers' expectations and to exceed them too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think you did that in many ways. One of the things you did was give us a little bit of guidance on what to do to be ready for that forgiveness. One of the things we did, and I think most of my buddies did this as well, we set up separate bank accounts for the amount of money that we would expect to be forgiven. And so we ended up actually setting up an extra account. I don't know if that was something you guys advised to everybody.
Well, everybody looked at that differently. Money is fungible, so it can be in any account. But, if you want to have some clear accounting with respect to taking the proceeds in and whatnot, and here's a nuance, which is I kind of smile at, is that entrepreneurs take this money in. Let's say they got a couple $100,000 and they set it aside in a separate account. Well, I'm not going to spend that money. Well, by the way, they're still paying payroll. They're still doing everything that they should be doing in terms of keeping their business going. Those expenditures that are making out of another account are still qualified expenditures.
True.
You don't have to spend the proceeds money in a separate account, but you're still paying payroll. Yeah. You're still paying payroll over a 24-week period. And so I think that's happened a lot. And having that conversation with folks, they go, oh, yeah.
Well,
yeah.
It makes sense.
It should be 100% forgiven.
Yeah, it makes sense, and you guys helped us a lot. Well, let's talk today, and I think that PPP is something definitely that you guys have led the region in without question, providing moral support. But I think it's important to think about who we're talking about. We're talking about small to medium-sized businesses, people who I call the heroes of the American economy, right? The leadership. They provide a lot of jobs. You and I were talking a few minutes back about things that can become momentum killers. So Sacramento was on a nice growth trajectory where a lot of seeds had been planted. The flowers had been starting to pop up. And as I like to say, the sparks of the entrepreneurial revolution were beginning to ignite. And then we get kind of kicked in the stomach, and it can have a tendency for some companies to drop them to their knees. Even a lot of us personally, we lost momentum. I mean, if you think about that, what do you see with you talk to as many entrepreneurs probably as I do, or maybe more. Was this the momentum killer? Was this a speed bump? I mean, how do you view it?
Oh, I think it was I classify it as a speed bump. I think people got through it. I think people have pivoted their business to get closer to their customers. What we've seen is that the response to COVID-19 and the shutdown and whatnot has really accelerated everybody's, lack of a better word, Mark, digital chops in terms of how they're touching customers and in terms of how they're providing service and a product or a service. And that's accelerated something maybe, what was people thought was going to happen 5 years down the road. Now we're living and breathing it. I mean, who knew of Zoom? I didn't know Zoom. Now, if I have one Zoom call a day, I have 5 Zoom calls a day.
Yes.
So it's helped us communicate better. And I think for our business, that's that's really kind of driven our productivity and our ability to reach new customers. And I know this has happened. And anybody who provides a product and service, that they really pushed out their digital capabilities and in terms of touching customers and bringing new customers on board.
So I think it's been an opportunity for those people who are very engaged in their business. They knew that they needed to accelerate the technology piece anyway. Now it's happening. And then what I've seen a little bit is those that were, I will say it on the back nine, maybe, or not as engaged in their business. Some of them just have decided to kind of hang it up or, not take it as seriously anymore and not just kind of ride it out. I've seen that a little bit.
Sure. And I think that creates a vacuum for other businesses to kind of fill those niches. And, we always come out of a recession better than we were prior to a recession because we just get better at what we're doing. Yeah. And the same thing's going to happen. The same thing is happening, is that businesses that have the resolve, that have that spirit, that spark, are just going to be that much better when we come out of this. And you can see it right now. I mean, people are growing their top lines, and they're making money. A lot of people are making money. It's not all doom and gloom. Now, if you're in certain niches, whether you're in any form of hospitality, that's tough. But hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel there, too. As we continue to improve, we're going from the purple to the red to the orange to the yellow, and whatnot. Every Tuesday, everybody's kind of dialed in, right? Okay, where's my county? Where's my county in this, right?
Yes. I agree. And right now, we seem to be opening up. I'm invested into, you and I were talking, like 40-something companies here in the Sacramento region. We are invested into, I think, basically all the venture firms here as well. So we end up really being invested into a pretty broad variety of companies because we're relentlessly local, but we're sort of industry agnostic. So I'm invested into a few hospitality type companies. One, they basically have gotten shut down in their own way, and they're surviving. They went into sort of a cash preservation mode. And the other one really pivoted and figured out a way to do outdoor dining and, patio type stuff. And you know what? It's kind of an interesting thing that, we talk about heroes of the American economy. It's because you figure out a way to adapt and overcome, and ultimately you don't quit. Those are, they're the people that, that I tip my cap to every day.
Absolutely. And entrepreneurs find a way to get it done. And they're relentless, they're resourceful, they're curious. They just don't take no for an answer. They're survivors, and we're seeing that a lot in terms of our customer base and also the folks within this community. So we're excited about that.
So let's talk about the community. So we talk about entrepreneurs generally having to pivot or make changes, accelerating things. Obviously, for 5-Star, you've accelerated some things to basically, I guess, come out with this fast growth rate that you've been able to do. But what about Sacramento? What about our region? We talked about people coming together. If you were to pull out the crystal ball, where are we right now in terms of, coming together and really getting back all the momentum we need for our growth?
Well, I think we're in a good place, and let me just share a couple things with you about that. First of all, there is a migration that's coming from the coast, from San Francisco, in terms of talent and businesses. We're seeing this. I'm on the board at GSAC, and we're seeing people being much more active in terms of about moving their businesses and or having their employees come out here and create little satellite situations. And so because living conditions in San Francisco are very difficult. People just don't want to be there. And it's funny. 2 years ago, it was the place to go.
Why is your daughter there then? Your daughter
Let me tell you something. She moved home.
Oh.
She moved home.
But she works in the Bay Area.
She works in the city, but she moved home. And now this is a temporary thing, Mark.
Yeah. Okay.
We talked about that. It's a temporary thing.
Okay. All right.
So, but it's and especially these highly skilled tech workers, okay, can live anywhere because they got their 2 screens in front of them. They got their Zoom calls going. They got their, pretty heavy duty, digital capability. They're fundamentally available 24/7. So a lot of this stuff is international, right? Yeah. And so they can live anywhere they want. I was on a Zoom call yesterday with a fellow down in Cabo. And what are you doing down there? Well, I can work down here, and I figured it out, and this is where I'm going to be. And I said, well, that's great. That's great.
Interesting. Well, it makes you think about the advantage to Sacramento and really even a hyper local approach. Rick and I, our VP here, have been talking about maybe there would be an escalation towards more of a hyper local approach to doing business and to relationships, where a lot of times people are saying, "Well, I'll do business with those big companies all over the world," and the national and international companies. But in reality, you can live and work anywhere you want, but people are migrating to Sacramento, and I sort of wonder, will there be a fast forward to more of a hyper local approach to relationship building?
I think ultimately that situation will evolve, and hopefully just along the lines you were talking about. So if you've got a decent migration of talented people and companies that are seriously looking at Sacramento in terms of a place to do business. You could raise a family here. It's a great place to live. You're close to anything, and where you'd want to go, whether it's the mountains or wherever the case may be. And it's not a difficult place to live. It's actually, especially up here in Placer County, this is great.
It is.
Right? And so that's a big attraction. It's a big attraction, and I think with that, you can get to critical mass more quickly. But you've got to have those organizers that help people connect. And this is where I think that, Mark, you come in and all the wonderful things you're doing.
Well, we like to build partnerships like the one that we have with Five Star and you, James, and the venture capital community, the entrepreneurial community. So if these people can come together, I call it the power of with, anything is possible. So that's really what my hope is for Sacramento, and hearing some optimism out of you, and even thinking about how the transplants might be very additive to this effort that some of us hometown guys have started. That's kind of an interesting prospect of thinking about how Bay Area workers, Bay Area small business, medium-sized business might really affect the trajectory of Sacramento.
Absolutely. I mean, we've got all the necessary ingredients out here. We've got a great airport system. Our transportation system is great. Our telecommunication infrastructure is great. I mean, nothing's holding us back. We've got great universities that are here. That are also supplying talent. So when you think about what's in the mix for Sacramento and the greater Sacramento area, which includes all the counties, I think there's nothing but upside.
Well, let me ask you for some advice here. So Rick and I, our VP, have been starting this thing that we call the Sacramento Growth Factory. And this is an effort really to back the hometown entrepreneur with capital, expertise, and really this community that we built. And we've been sort of doing our investments alone. But our goal is, and our thoughts are, how do we sort of change the mindset of the local investment community to say, put your money where your town is, right? So put the money, get off the sidelines, take some of that money that you had in your 401k, or maybe had in the stock market, or were maybe even investing into firms outside of the region, and say, take a fraction of that and let's go local. Let's take the community that we have and take it into our own hands and really become the economic driver for the region. So I guess my question is, any advice on helping get that money off the sidelines?
Well, it's really about pushing out the story. In my mind, it's pushing out the opportunity and sharing that with folks throughout the greater Sacramento area. Because I think there is a desire for people to invest locally. I mean, you and I are investors in venture funds. Those companies may be local, but they also may not be local. Mm-hmm. And so I applaud you in terms of making that kind of that local flavor of these small businesses. But doing something also and creating an incubator / accelerator where there's hands-on help from yourself and your staff of helping these companies stand up and having a place in which they could be, and then also providing capital to them. That's kind of a full service environment, if you will, and that's not really being done, in the manner in which you're talking about right now. There's attempts to do it, but I think that somebody, for you to be able to do this and pull this off, I think it would be great. And by the way, as we talked before we went on air, any help you need from us, you just let me know.
Well, your leadership is quite respectable, and I have my you can't see them quite from where you're sitting, but if you walk up into my office, or you and I haven't done 5-Star Bank Tank in a while, or some of our events here at HaneyBiz that we've been doing, but I'll pull these, they're the Niner chairs that we got from Candlestick Park, right? See, me and Tom Candress ended up buying our seats, and when they closed down when they tore down the stadium, and I have those Niner seats up here in my office empty as sort of my reminder of we got to get the money off the sidelines. And really what I mean by that is there's a lot of people that are sort of maybe the who's who of Sacramento are invested into these private equity funds and venture funds, but there's a lot of small guys. What I would say is the guy that he's an investor or she's an investor, but they really don't have the money to go big on a private equity company or in a venture company, but they need to dabble. So we're thinking about how do we democratize this and make it so that a broader spectrum of investor can kind of get included into these opportunities, because a couple of the companies that I've invested into here locally, one of them was a jet ski company that got bought by Nikola, who's now listed on the NASDAQ, and they're a public company, and so how do you get involved in those? How do I miss these opportunities? We've had 2 or 3 exits since COVID started. People are like, how do you get involved in that? So I want to help. You talked about the information. I want to help educate the early stage investor into how they might be able to begin to kind of tread into these waters a little bit.
That's a great point that you make, is education of an early stage investor, and educating people that do have the liquidity, that, hey, yeah, maybe you should have 5 or 10% of your portfolio, if you will, in these early stage companies, and educating them about the asset class, and help them spread that risk around. Help them, don't make one bet, make 10 bets.
Yes.
And help them kind of democratize, if you will, what a venture fund does. And is it an angel club type of environment? Well, a little bit in that vein, us being involved in some angel clubs, but also having the structure around it where you can actually have hands on, and you know that they're being supported. Kind of a unique environment, a unique business model.
Yeah, a little more likely to succeed if you have other local people kind of that have your back and can help provide connections and that kind of thing. And I think that brings me to what I'm thinking about for 5-Star, is I think about your growth. You guys are now banking with even larger companies than before, the medium and even some larger companies. But you haven't forgotten about the small guy, right? You haven't forgotten about these early stage, I would say maybe even pre-revenue, but people with potential. And you've managed to, with Bank Tank and with some of the other venture financing kind of things that you do, you haven't forgot about the small guy. How does that fit into your business model? Because that's a long-term investment. It's hard to make a lot of money off of these guys that don't have a lot of assets yet.
Exactly. It's really, we like to call it at 5-Star, we're playing the long game. And, we're creating an environment in which these companies are going to be maybe 5 years out, or maybe 6, 7, 8 years out. Or that's when they're really going to hit their J curve and just go, right? And so you always have to be investing. You always have to be sowing the seeds, if you will. And I think if you do that consistently, year in and year out, you create this pipeline of customers as they push through. Now, hey, not all of them are going to make it, okay? But you can help them along the way to position. so they could have their best chance of success. That's meaningful. We're a big SBA lender nationally, and so we're going to continue to rely on that particular lending vehicle to help stand up some of these small businesses. But I'm optimistic about that strategy. And if you're kind of curious like me, it's kind of a fun thing to do. You're trying to figure out, where did you come up with that idea? And I think that just might work. And how have you gone to revenue about it? How many customers you have? They're buying this stuff from you right now. Okay. Let's see what we can do.
Without question, it's so interesting, the creativity that goes into some of these business models. So I would agree. It's a great education for a guy my age to be talking to somebody who might be 25 or 30, but wow, they're highly intelligent in their field and blow you away with the idea creation.
Absolutely. And we're going to continue to see that. We're going to see it coming out of our universities, some of those young entrepreneurs, UC Davis kids or Sac State kids or University of Pacific kids. We're going to see that. Chico State.
Yeah, you bet. Even we're seeing that even out of the community colleges and out of the Hacker Lab and some of these,
Sure.
Less traditional maybe roads to learning. Now, Rick, as I keep referencing my main man, Rick, he's got me this list of questions. I hate following a script here, but let me at least see if I can chip through one of these so that I don't get a C- on this interview here. Okay, so Rick has asked, what does it mean to be a community bank?
Great question. Thank you, Rick, for that question. It means that you're in service, to your community. And that can manifest itself in several different actions. And we talked a little bit before about being there for these businesses that needed a PPP loan. It also could manifest itself in something else we did that was kind of interesting. And the city of Sacramento got a bunch of CARES money, I think about $90 million. And they decided, hey, you know something, we're gonna give some of this money back in terms of a forgivable loan to these small businesses, these micro businesses. And we're going to make them like a kind of a micro loan that's forgivable, almost like a grant, if you will. And then they wanted to make them on small dollar denominations, $5 to $10 grand, and start thinking about 15 million $10,000 loans. That's a lot of units.
Yes.
So they thought, we're going to have somebody help us, and so they called us up. I remember talking to their economic development folks. I was in an airport in Denver and go, would you guys think about doing this? And I said, we would. We'd love to see if we could help you. And so we're just about finished up and helping them process, 1,500 of these.
Oh my goodness.
Individual units. And these are all small businesses, all small businesses. They're also as kind of an artistic grant part to that too, but not as large as the lending program. But it's having an opportunity to be in service like that say, yeah, I'll do it. I'll dedicate 5, 6, 7 people for a month to do that. Those are the neat things that we get to do as a community bank.
Mm-hmm. Well, you think about that too. People might view, if you're somebody who maybe has dealt with large banking institutions, that you might think of banking as a commodity, just something that's like it's kind of all the same stuff. But really, it's more about relationships when you get to the community level.
Absolutely, and it's knowing the folks in the economic development departments of any municipality or the counties. It's knowing the electeds and having a relationship with the electeds, a trusted relationship. And so we've got some great partners throughout this region: City of Roseville, City of Sac, City of Elk Grove, Rancho, the counties, Placer County, County of Sac, and it's something, again, you have to continue to work, and you have to continue to be out there in terms of making sure that they know that your mindset is such as that you want to help.
Mm-hmm. All right, let me pick out another one of Rick's questions here. So, opportunities and challenges ahead with 5 Star, and thinking about how your leadership, right? You're developing this incredible leadership team, but how do you anticipate dealing with the challenges and the opportunities that lie ahead for you?
Well, there's some uncertainty, right, in our economy. It's a very low rate environment, and that has a tendency to kind of squeeze margins. You could have a tax hike depending upon how things roll. I'm of a mind that's going to happen anyway, whoever gets elected.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of bake that all in and say, okay, well, how are we going to continue to thrive as an organization? And as we continue to execute in terms of some of our niches, whether it's the SBA lending or whether it's mobile home park financing or whether it's faith-based lending, we're going to continue to lean into that. Whether it's venture banking, we're going to continue to lean into that and be relevant in our market. And we think that we can continue to take market share and grow market share. We've got a whopping 2.8% market share in this MSA. And
wow,
you would say, well, that's not very much, James. But I turn around and say, well, look at the opportunity for growth that we have if we continue to execute. And so we're now a top 10 bank, or number 8 in our market. 2 years ago, we were number 12 or 13. And so I think that business owners and entrepreneurs have realized the value of a personal connection from a banking perspective, and that personal connection we think is best at a community bank. Mm-hmm. And so.
Another one of Rick's questions, but I think it's an interesting question that we probably all ask ourselves. And talk about things that you are, it's tough to sometimes pat yourself on the back without sounding like a commercial or something like that. This is really to educate people. But what are you most proud of? You've done so much, but is there something that you could put your finger on and you say, you know what, that's what I'm most proud of?
Well, it's helping some of these nonprofits that are in service to their communities, and some entrepreneurs that are oriented that way to be in service to their communities. And case in point, helping the food bank with a PPP loan at the right place to help continue their operations, because what happened, and is still happening, is their volume and their need to serve has just grown tremendously. So they needed some help, and we happen to be there for them. It's also helping an organization like Paratransit, who's now partnering with the food bank in terms of delivering food. Okay, and which I just think is the neatest thing in the world. Those are a couple instances of things that we're proud of. But we're always looking for ways to be in service to our communities. We continue to have an open mind about that, and there's going to be something else next month that we're saying, hey, yeah, that sounds like a great program. We can actually help somebody in their business, or help somebody serve folks from disadvantaged communities. We're always looking for that.
One of the things that I found when I make investments or when I borrowed money from the bank is when you finally get that approved line of credit, or you get that investment from let's call it a key investor, a key angel investor, it breeds confidence, right? So up to that point, you're like, oh man, I see the opportunity, but I'm missing the capital. And then when you get that capital finally, you finally get that confidence, right? It's like, okay, it's go time. Advice to entrepreneurs who are sort of at that doorstep where they need to get the capital, they need to get that confidence going. They're one or two key puzzle pieces away, maybe you can give us just some thoughts to help them break through so they can have that confidence that I think we all need if we're going to succeed.
Sure. Having an open mindset about your business and about how you're going to execute, I think is really important. And take the input that you receive from either your banker or your advisors or your investors, and take it to heart and see if you can maybe tweak a few things to make things work. Tell your story. Tell it passionately. Tell it from the heart. People understand that. That builds trust. About trust. It's probably one of the most important things to make for a successful business relationship, personal relationship. I'd argue maybe the most important thing. Build trust. Build trust. Do what you say you're going to do. And be open-minded and be able to articulate exactly what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. It's always good to have a business plan, sure, but I think when I'm meeting with a new prospect, a business owner and whatnot, if they can't tell me what they do in 120 seconds, I don't know what to, I don't know. Do they have the passion for their business? Is that coming through, or they be able to articulate their business? So that's what we're looking for. Yeah. We're looking for somebody who can articulate exactly what they're doing and the help that they need and what they expect on the back end if they get the capital they need.
Yeah, great point. Okay, just so kind of want to set it up for you to, if you have any closing thoughts, I know people want to figure out how they can get engaged with 5 Star, and obviously you can always go through me and connect, but I want to give you, James, a chance as one of the leaders of our hometown, the leader of 5 Star, just a chance to maybe some closing thoughts to the entrepreneurial community.
Sure. The market is ripe for an entrepreneur right now to succeed. I'm always a strong believer in investing in the trough of a business cycle. So you come out, when things get better, you come out like a rocket ship. And we've done that in our business, and that's something that I push up on people all the time about. Hey, listen, this thing's going to change. You better be out in front of it when it does. So you better be spending the time, money, energy of making sure you're ready to go. And so that's something that would be advice to some entrepreneurs and business owners and whatnot. And have the confidence in what you're doing, and get the best people you possibly can. Share with them your vision, your thoughts of where you're going to take your business. Have them have a meaningful role, either as employees or maybe ownership. Help them see and realize their dreams, because through them you're going to realize your dreams. So, I look at this community and I think I'm full of hope, if you will. And I think that as we continue to move forward, we're always going to find ways to help people. And working with folks like yourself, that's an accelerator in my mind. You leverage what we do with you, and hopefully vice versa.
Yeah. I like some of the takeaways there. Investing in the trough for a lot of us that might be afraid at the moment. If you have the right idea, have that confidence to invest now. And then I really like the part where you said, through their dreams, you'll achieve your own dreams, and that hits home for me. And again, I look forward to many strong days ahead, working together alongside you, James, alongside your team. You've built something special over there, and we're proud to sort of be a part of what's happening at 5 Star, and I look forward to helping along the way as much as we can.
Thank you, Mark, for your very, very kind words. It's always a delight to be on your show, so thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the time.
You bet.
Thanks for watching today's show. My goal for every episode is that you find a takeaway, something tangible you can use in your business today. And if you have a comment about a favorite takeaway, feel free to put it in the box below. And if you have a topic that you'd like me to bring up on the show, don't forget to let me know. And also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to learn more about entrepreneurship. Because at HaneyBiz, we are always by your side.